Hello everybody, it's me, Tammy Devine. We're going to do a special edition of Tammy's Take right now. We're also streaming live on Facebook. Hey people. With me today is a very special guest. This is Henderson Cooper. Henderson Cooper has a great resume. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his background. And you also run something called your situational awareness, right?
Yes.
What's all that about?
Well, your situational awareness 101.com is my website, and it is my training and teaching platform where I teach women and children how to be survivors in this world, how to not be victims of crime, how to be safe. And then my background, I come from a background of law enforcement and the U.S. intelligence community. And
Can you say which one or no?
Well, I left the Central Intelligence Agency in 2009.
Okay, so you're CIA. And
Former
CIA, and but you know, I always said I don't think people ever really retire from those agencies, right? Because you're a brain now, like you know how everything works, and so people are probably always calling on you to do other work.
I haven't been often called a brain, but I do consulting in the corporate world and in the private sector. So my experience and my background does come into play, which includes obviously my time with the agency.
So, you know, when somebody thinks CIA, they're thinking like, you know, I don't know, the alias, or, you know, going to different countries and in costumes and putting in flash drives and, you know, that kind of thing. But there are lots of different, you know, jobs, I guess, within the CIA. So there are people that set schedules and things that are administrative and do those kinds of things. Where did you fall in on that?
Well, it'd be really wonderful if it was as exciting as most of the TV shows and movies, but it also would be difficult because people are always getting killed and injured in those things.
True.
And the real world of it is that the Central Intelligence Agency is an intelligence agency. They're about gathering and collecting information and supplying it to our leaders so that they can make intelligent decisions and lead the country in the right direction. So
people would want to know, like, were you a spy? Is that what?
Well, from a technical standpoint, everyone that works for the CIA would be considered a spy when they leave the U.S. Territory and go off into the other world because they're representing the U.S. government. My work, you have to lie for a living. So anything I say out right now would be a lie.
Okay, well, at least he's truthful about it, right? Because I think we have an idea of that. You know, if you're a spy, you're telling a lie, you know, to other people in different countries, which is, I think, part of why there's such I think right now there seems to be kind of a negative sentiment or thought process towards members of the CIA and other forces of the United States government, I guess. But CIA, people are looking at members of the CIA as part of the deep state, or former members as part of the deep state. But you don't really believe in the deep state so much, right?
Well, it hasn't been defined and identified. First of all, it should be said this. People who work at the CIA are people like you and everyone around us. They're regular people. They're regular. They're not Democrats, they're not Republicans, they're just regular people who got a job. They had the ability to pass a background and a polygraph, and they got a job, and they decided to serve their country.
But
they're regular
how can
people.
you say they're not Democrats or Republicans? Because they have personal lives, they vote,
but
everybody has a bias.
It doesn't show up in their work. Their work is per assignment. They're giving an assignment or a task, and they do that assignment or task.
Can you really sit there with a straight face, Coop, and tell me that it doesn't show up in their work? Are there not rogue elements within the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ right now, which is what most of the country is talking about right now, that do show bias? When you look at those texts between Page and Strzok, who were allegedly having an affair, but having to do with the Hillary Clinton investigation and the spying on Donald Trump, I mean, I don't think anybody can deny that Donald Trump was spied on, which is not allowed, right?
Right.
Candidates are, you know, regular American citizens are not supposed to be spied on, even if they're running for office. And I think it's pretty much established fact now that Donald Trump was spied on, correct?
Correct. No American should be spied on. unless they have given cause for it, like they've committed a crime or they've done something suspicious. And Americans generally are not spied on.
Do you think that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians? And even if he did collude with the Russians, I put that in air quotes because it's not really a crime, right? Even if he did collude with the Russians to win an election, do you think he colluded with the Russians?
Well, I wasn't there. I wasn't with him. I don't know factually what he did or did not do, but I will say this. He is at the top of the food chain in terms of running for the office. His actions are always under the microscope, just as Hillary Clinton's actions were always under the microscope. So what they specifically did would be seen by most of us. All politicians meet with foreign people. I did, working for the CIA.
And
I was
Hillary
around.
Clinton did. We know
every
this,
single one,
team.
every Democrat, every Republican, every independent in
So
Congress and
why isn't there
Senate.
screaming that she might have colluded with the Russians? And right now, it looks like there's far more evidence of Hillary Clinton and her campaign colluding with the Russians than Donald Trump ever did.
Well,
especially when you look at this in light of the Uranium One context.
Yeah. Well, the colluding part is what needs to be proven and brought before the public and shown as evidence and factual. But meeting with, talking to, yes, they all have.
Okay. So shouldn't this investigation be over with this whole Russian thing with Donald Trump? Because I think a lot of people look at this situation and they're just embarrassed now for the Democrats. Because ultimately, the only time this talking point came up was after Hillary Clinton lost, or when it looked like she might lose ahead of the election. It looks like the other side is just being a bunch of crybabies and putting Robert Mueller there, somebody who is neck deep in the Uranium One situation. Isn't it embarrassing now? And shouldn't it just stop?
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think the embarrassment goes beyond that. I think our country is suffering embarrassment because I'm sure the rest of the world looks at us and says, what on earth is going on with those people over there? They eat their own children almost. It's a matter of us fighting internally and doing what we think that our enemies would do to us. We don't need an ISIS or an Al Qaeda because we're destroying ourselves with this infighting.
And what's really bad is that it looks like we are going to maybe not war just yet, but we're heating up the Cold War again with Russia over this petty loss. It was an election loss. And now you want to go and try and force Donald Trump's hand to be against Russia. He says over and over and over again, it would be a good thing for us to get along with Russia. Wouldn't it, Coop?
It would be a good thing for us to get along with everyone in the world, our enemies, our friends, and those that we don't have an adversarial relationship with at all. It would be good for us. I mean, everything works better when we can communicate, and that we are having difficulty communicating today because of the imbalance in the power structure and this argument that's going on right now. It makes us look real bad, and it makes our administration have difficulty in being functional. But I think that's part of what goes on. When the Republicans are in office, the Democrats will make it difficult, and when the Democrats are in office, the Republicans will make it difficult.
You know what? When Barack Obama won the presidency in 2008, people on the right formed tea parties and they protested. They marched on Washington. They, did all this stuff. But eventually, it all kind of died down, and they accepted the facts. There's not been a stitch of evidence ever that the Tea Party did anything violent. In fact, when they had their marches and rallies, they would clean up the parks after they were done being there.
Yeah.
But right now, the other side has Antifa going out. They're throwing bottles of urine at people who are just trying to have free speech and talk about the things that they don't like. They're taking bike locks and hitting people over the head with them. They're committing all these violent acts that if Donald Trump's people did, all hell would rain down if the right did it.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't this a
well-meaning,
problem?
yeah, well-meaning people are being co-opted by special interests and people who have an agenda and who want to see chaos. And it's something I've seen all through my career.
Now this is where the whole deep state question comes in. If regular people who are against Donald Trump are just trying to have peaceful protests, and like you said, they're being co-opted by other forces, isn't it the deep state?
Well,
doing the co-opting?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've fully defined what deep state is.
Okay, let me say what I believe it is, just from my reading and research and all of that. It's rogue elements within the law enforcement agencies of the United States government, the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, people who absolutely did not want Donald Trump to be president, absolutely wanted Hillary Clinton to be president, like Page and Strzok, which has been proven in the text messages that have been released from them. That's what I would define. And members of the CIA who are doing things
Which ones?
clandestinely. I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe you.
Exactly.
Are you part of the deep state, Henderson?
Exactly. You don't know. There are a couple names that we can bring up, like you brought up a couple names that we can identify as having done things that are suspicious, even criminal, and obviously played a part that was outside the realm of their job. An FBI agent doing something that is not FBI-like. Investigating innocent people or exchanging messages and having conversations. We can identify individuals who have done things that we're very suspicious of, and I think that's a problem, but I don't know that represents the FBI as a whole. I know there's thousands of FBI agents, and I don't know that it represents, we haven't mentioned a CIA name, there's a name that you could mention. I don't know that this person's statements about the president represent the agency. It represents that person. So whether you can say it is a deep state issue or not, I don't know.
We also know, though, that Chuck Schumer was on the record on, he's a Senate minority leader, was on the record on a Sunday morning talk show saying, when President Trump first was elected, that the intelligence community can get back at you 6 ways to Sunday. So that seemed like a very clear threat, and it seems like there's follow-up now on that threat with the leaks that are going on. His towers are on fire like regularly when they never were before, and all kinds of other things going on in this administration that would never have happened in the Obama administration. Is the deep state getting back at Donald Trump 6 ways to Sunday, as Chuck Schumer said would happen?
Yeah, well, that Chuck Schumer said that it represents what he thinks and believes and wants to be heard and known out there. It's not necessarily true just because he says it. However, it is problematic that he would say something like that. It could even be suggested that it led to actions that came afterwards or supported actions that were going on at the time. Very problematic, and I think it's wrong and should have been said, should have been done. I don't know that we can today identify from a factual standpoint what anyone has done other than those that have been identified, like McCabe. In that case, again,
yeah,
criminal.
We really need to go to McCabe and Comey. I mean,
absolutely.
Why are they out there like on the record, book release, talking?
Yeah.
And then you have
it is a political process. The more they do what they do, the more conversation happens around that, and the more they gain energy, the more they gain strength, the more they gain momentum. And the problem is that we don't have a good way to counter it. We don't have something going against it. If it is a deep state, we don't have the not deep state going against them.
They are deep state all over them, right? Deep state is written all over those two. And I hear what you're saying, that maybe if they're out there, they'll get public sentiment around them. And if we know investigations are going on over these guys. You
yell fire, you're going to get a reaction, and everyone's going to pay attention.
Yes, but they should know more than anybody that their words can and will be used against them in a court of law. To me, that doesn't make sense that they would be out there doing that.
Well, I just wonder if they believe that they're within the law or subject to the law. Politicians have been getting away with. I mean, we had politicians who had sexual relations inside the White House. and essentially got away with it.
Yeah.
We have politicians who are abusing women and doing terrible things to children, and for a period of time at least have been getting away with it. Things do
forever.
happen.
They have been getting away from it forever, with it forever. And there's so many. And I think a lot of people on the right would look at the situation and say it's mostly the left right now, at least. You know, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, you know, all of the people involved with her campaign who, you know, you can look at page after page after page of evidence against them, which I think is going to come out in indictments very soon. Everybody thinks Donald Trump is being investigated, but I think that's going to fall by the wayside, and I think it's going to go heavy towards Clinton and the left. But they've always gotten away with it in the past, and who knows if they'll get away with it now.
Yeah, hopefully truth comes out, and hopefully facts come out, and hopefully action is taken. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave it there with you, Coop. It was really good talking to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with situational awareness?
Well, I have a website called Your Situational Awareness 101, and it is my platform for bringing information to the public. I target women and children because they are the most vulnerable in this society, especially now with everything going on with the Harvey Weinstein issues and all the other people in the corporate world that has always been so difficult for women trying to break that glass ceiling. I try to bring information in a very general sense, but also specifically to the areas where I think women can be empowered, where women can recognize that they don't have to be a victim, their children don't have to be victims, and they can be empowered to make right choices and right decisions. I kind of call it teaching them how to be a spy, how to operate in the world,
well, you would
get
know.
where you want to go, do what you want to do, and arrive home safely. I lived a life in law enforcement and in the intelligence world, and I'm here to talk about it today. I'm here to say it today because I learned the trade craft that got me through those dark nights and those lonely places and those dangerous situations.
So you're telling people how to watch for tails behind them, and if somebody's following them in a parking lot.
How to plan and plot beforehand, know where you're going. Never go into a room that you don't know how to get out of. Never go into a building you don't know how to get out of. Teach your children how to respond to a situation if there's an active shooter type situation. You know, they have plans in place, but what if your child is outside the realm of their plans that they have in place? And what if their plans that they have in place aren't that complete? We're in a room right now that has limited ways of getting out. Have you studied the ways that we can get out of this room?
You're scaring me, Coop. Stop it. I know, you just got here too. Yeah. You already know, like the exit.
But when you learn, you gain strength and you gain comfort and confidence. Okay. That's what I want women and children to have.
Okay. Well, he's the guy. He would know. Yeah. So thank you so much. Give your website one more time.
It is Your Situational Awareness 101, all one big long word.
That's pretty long, Coop. Okay, .com?
.com.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It wasn't as much of a,
I was looking for a big fight.
I know. What happened?
It just didn't happen.
You're kind of reasonable. You're a little rational.
Gosh, don't put that on the air. I don't want people to think I'm reasonable and rational.
Your reputation is gone now. Thanks a lot, Coop. Appreciate it. All right, guys, that's it for now for Tami State.